Hello, I am live, it tells me. It's good to know because sometimes I question that. If you're here, please comment because I can see and I don't want to talk to nobody in particular. So please let me know if you're here. That would be really nice of you. Uh, is anybody here? 1, 2, 3. Okay. We're getting a few people on here. Join us, please. I'm going to wait about a minute, maybe two, and you can join us here. Okay, now, I just wanted to talk to you. Excuse me, that happens on live video, doesn't it? People sneeze and all sorts of stuff. If this was pre-recorded, I could edit that out, but unfortunately, we're live. I'd like to get a few more people here. A couple of you liked the idea that I was going live. Let's see. I'm seeing people who I didn't know knew I was here. Where are my people who loved the idea that I was going live? Anyway, we're just going to talk a little bit about what's happening, and you can rewind this. You can watch it from the beginning at any time. So much is going on. I mean, I can't tell you how disappointed I was when the Supreme Court refused to hear the Texas lawsuit. Even my state, Florida, had signed on to it. We had 166, I think, senators and congressmen who signed on to it. And yet the Supreme Court, and their desire not to be slaughtered or have their family killed, I guess, decided in their wisdom not to hear the case. But my real opinion is that they're waiting for the very last minute for maximum psychological effect, because the outcome is supposed to be and is planned to be chaos, because, well, you can't bring order out of chaos if there is no chaos. And so we got to make a little chaos. Today, in Washington, D.C., Saturday, the 12th of December, 2020, there is a huge Trump support rally going on. Last night, they were lined up, looked by the thousands on the street. There were a few Antifa and BLM people there, and unfortunately, the conservatives, the Trump supporters, were yelling obscenities at the Antifa people, and that probably was not a good thing to do, morally speaking. However, if we're looking for a war between right and left, then that's what's going to happen. Now, remember, you can ask questions live here, and if I see your question, I'll try and answer it while we're talking. One of the interesting things that happened was that Colonel West, Allen West, who is now the chairman of the Republican committee in the Republican convention or whatever in Texas, is talking about secession. And he's not a man that would normally be found talking about secession, but they are talking about forming a group of states that would exclude New York, California, Washington State, and a few others, and would basically take the entire rest of the country and form it into a new and different union, leaving the United States dead, leaving California, New York, and uh, maybe Michigan and a few other states to just wander about on their own and pretend like they're still the United States. But if 40 states out of the 50 were to pull out of the United States, uh, make Dallas, for instance, their capital and invite Donald Trump to be their president, how would that change things in the world? I don't know. But what I think we're headed for is some kind of massive civil war and perhaps even a nuclear attack from China or Russia. We're talking about the end of the Union. And we are talking about hard times coming. Now, my personal feeling, as far as I'm concerned, is I have been a missionary on the field. I have been in a third world country, in the jungle, with absolutely no money, nothing, and no food. And I have watched as God repeatedly provided for my needs and the needs of my family. And so I really have very little fear of this thing. Um, I know that God is able to provide, and if I lived through the initial attack and all of that stuff, even if there's nothing at Walmart and everything's closed down and they have military checkpoints all over the highways, uh, God can still feed me. He can still feed my family, and He can still feed you. But you need to have a lot of faith, and you need to understand that none of this is taking God by surprise. Not even the slightest amount of it has surprised God. He knew before the beginnings, before the foundations of the earth, He saw the end thereof. And He knew the whole thing. And He saw you before you were born. And He knows how to take care of you. And so I would just ask you, just stay close to God in prayer. Ask God to take you where He needs you to be, when He needs you to be there, and to speak through you and to use you. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. You know my thoughts from watching what I write and other things that I put up live on video. You know what I think and what I believe. I cannot see Biden or Kamala becoming president. I don't know. It might happen. The fact that I can't imagine it or conceive of it in no way would, prevent it from happening. They don't have to have my particular permission to do anything. However, it would surprise me. There are a lot of options between now and then. And I would just ask you to keep your eyes open. One of the things that Jesus got all over the religious leaders in His day for was the fact that He says, hey, the winds out of the south, you say today's going to be a scorcher, and you're right. You see clouds in the east, and you say, it's going to rain. And you're right. He says, but you have no idea of the times in which you live. And I wouldn't want Jesus to say that about me. I would not want Jesus to say that about you or any of your friends or family. I want you to know what's going on. Now we watch, and as we watch, we come to certain conclusions and we think this is going to happen. Well, sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, because it doesn't depend on us. It's for God and for His glory. And we've got the devil fighting and doing his thing, and we're told that he wins for a short while. But our hope, and I hope your hope, but my hope, is not in Donald Trump or in the United States of America or in Washington, D.C. My hope is in an eternity with God in heaven and with Jesus Christ, who loved me enough to die for me. And I see that, and I think that's a really good thing. So, what I want to do is just encourage you that if you put yourself in God's hands, He will take care of you. When times get rough, and even if you have to suffer, Jesus will be with you and in you. And He's been through it all before. And He can take you through anything at all. Now, I just really believe that times are going to be rough. If you look at the Bible, you find that everything in the end times centers around Israel. Yes, it does. It centers around Israel and Jerusalem. Every other player, including Trump, Biden, the Russians, the Chinese, the Africans, the South Americans, the Canadians, every other player is on the side, and they are relating to Israel. Everything centers around Israel. And Israel became a nation in 1948. Jesus said that the generation that saw the fig tree blossom would not pass away. Well, that generation is going to be 73 in 2021, and that's getting pretty old. It's 7 years until they turn 80. 80 is the limits of a man's life, according to the psalmist. And so let's look at it from that possibility. Also, look at the fact that although our calendars are not perfect, we know that there has been about 6,000 years of human history and that we are at the end. I mean, maybe we're 30, 40 years off on our calendar. Maybe, it's not 2020 yet. Maybe it's 1998 since, God formed the earth. I don't know. There's really very little way to tell. But if we go on an average of 6,000 years, and every 1,000 years is a millennium, and every millennium is, a day. 1,000 years is as a day, and we have a week. God labored for 6 days, and the seventh day He rested. The 7,000 years is the millennial Sabbath, and the earth rests, and Jesus rules and reigns from Jerusalem for 1,000 years. That's the Sabbath rest. So, from that point of view, what we're doing is we're coming up on the evening of the Sabbath. And one of these days soon, the sun is going to go down, and the seventh millennium on God's calendar is going to start. And it's on that day that Jesus will return at Armageddon, and the Antichrist and his prophet will be sent into hell. Um, and the devil will be bound for 1,000 years. And that's an interesting thought in itself. But we're coming up on that time. And our hope is that we will be here. Either we will still be here having survived to the end, or we'll come back with him, one way or the other, and that we will rule and reign with Jesus for 1,000 years. And that is a great hope. And then when all of this world is up and the devil is finally condemned and thrown into the lake of fire, we will be with Jesus and with the Father in heaven. And that's a wonderful thing. So, whatever you have to suffer here, whatever you have to suffer here, whatever you have to go through, just understand that Jesus will be with you in it. And you are to just let him talk through you. At the end, just let him talk and let him minister to people, because your suffering, if you stay right with him, if your attitude is controlled by the Spirit of God in you, even as you suffer, your suffering will bring people to Jesus. People will be saved. People will get to spend an eternity in heaven. People will escape the fires of hell simply because they watched how Christians handled suffering. So when suffering comes, don't panic. Throw yourself in the arms of Jesus. Let him give you peace. I can't tell you how bad these days are going to be, but I believe they're going to be tough. And I want you to be prepared even now. Even now, you need to be prepared to do whatever God asks you to do in these days that come. Lord, bless these your people and help them to understand what's going on. And guide them and tell them where to be and what to do in any given day. Amen. God bless you. Have a great day. We're going to end this thing if we can find the button. Bye. Have a great day.